Hello 2022. Aren't you all excited to start afresh this new year 2022? Je suis tellement excité de vous parler à tout sonde milvandu. I'm highly excited to talk to you all in this new year. This is the first episode, numero uno. This is rather the first chapter of the season 2 and also in the new annum. I will be talking about the autonomic nervous system overview, or in other words, you can call it Introduction to the Autonomic Nervous System. Welcome all to Is Pharmacology Difficult podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Radhika Vijay, MBBS MD, Pharmacology, and this is the audio hub to get the best simplified basic tips, strategies, methods, and lots of ideas to learn better, understand better, and make your concept crystal clear. If you really find, and if there's a question hovering in your minds, is pharmacology difficult? Lend me your ears for a while and let in the magic of knowledge. When I say central nervous system, abbreviated as capital CNS, you will be replying to me, it's a composition of brain and spinal cord. And when I say peripheral nervous system, abbreviated as capital PNS, your reply gonna be a composition of sensory efferents and motor efferents and nerve impulses to and fro the CNS to the peripheral effector cells, right? Okay, that's absolutely fine. Now the point of importance is that the PNS has further paths, namely the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. Few notable features of the somatic nervous system. Let's do it as bullet points. 1. Neurotransmitter at the neuromuscular junction is the acetylcholine. So you can actually call it the somatic nervous system as a cholinergic system. Not completely, but most of it. Okay? Coming over to the autonomic nervous system. Let's do the bullet points, the important ones for this too. The first one. Efferent neurons, they are situated near the central nervous system and they carry the sensation from the visceral receptors. Now as I progress, your comprehension gonna be improving step by step, point by point. Efferent nerves, they are involuntary and they carry the sensation from the central nervous system, that is the CNS. On the whole, you can say that ANS, that is autonomic nervous system, is controlling most of the visceral functions. As far as the efferents, EFF, okay? As far as the efferents are concerned, the maximum nerves, they are of mixed nature. Efferents, that is AFF, they are situated in the dorsal root ganglia of the spinal nerves and also in the sensory ganglia. Next point. At many spots, the somatic and the autonomic mixed innervations, they are found. Okay? Next point. Hypothalamus is the highest organ monitoring the autonomic functions. Different centers related to the eye, lungs, vagus, they are also found in the midbrain and the medulla oblongata. Next point. Main functions regulated, they are comprising of the smooth muscle relaxation, smooth muscle contraction, functioning of many glands, be it endocrine or exocrine. Other functions include the regulation of the heart functions, etc. Next important point is anatomically, 3 divisions they are identified. The first one is the parasympathetic nervous system. It is cholinergic in nature. Then we have sympathetic nervous system, that is adrenergic in nature. And the last division is the enteric nervous system. We'll be doing the separate divisions in a little brief introductory details, but not in today's episode. So that is a teaser. We'll be covering them in the near future episodes very soon. Preganglionic fiber evolution. It decides the dividing line between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. And we can actually differentiate the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems very thoroughly. First of all, let's talk about the origin. Parasympathetic system begins from the cranial nerves 3, 7, 9 and 10. And it also originates from the sacral segments S2 to S4. Hence, in other words, we can call it as the craniosacral system, because the origin are from the cranial nerves and the sacral elements. On the other hand, the sympathetic system, it begins from the thoracic T1 segment to the lumbar L2 or L3 segment. So, in other words, you can call the sympathetic system as the dorso-lumbar system. It's simply the name we derive from the origin or the evolution from the different segments of the spinal cord. In parasympathetic system, now that's one great point of differentiation. Rather, we should always put it as the first point of differentiation, because the origin is the dividing line amongst the two systems. Coming over to the next point of differentiation is, in the parasympathetic system, the postganglionic fibers, they are short, because the ganglia, they are situated on or close to the organ, viscera or the tissue supplied. And on the other hand, in case of the sympathetic nervous system, the postganglionic fibers, they are long, because the ganglia, they are situated away from the organ, viscera and the tissues supplied. That is totally opposite to the parasympathetic system. That is another very simple point of differentiation amongst the two systems. Coming over to the next distinguishing feature amongst the two systems, the main neurotransmitter in the case of parasympathetic system is the acetylcholine, while in case of sympathetic system, it's noradrenaline. And that's why we say that parasympathetic system is cholinergic in nature, while sympathetic is dominatingly adrenergic. Now, coming over to our last point. Accordingly, you can easily guess the function of the two systems. The parasympathetic system, it regulates the energy and the food assimilation and conservation, while sympathetic system, it handles the stress and the emergency. With these important distinguishing differentiating points amongst the two systems, which were quite simple, nothing very complicated, I halt the topic matter. But now I have a little piece of advice as I start the first episode of the introduction to the autonomic nervous system. Now, in the coming episodes, you will be getting into great details and you'll be diving deep along with me into this autonomic nervous system. And these are all very important episodes. Yes, they are more important than the general pharmacological aspects. I would definitely say that. And a piece of advice that I want to give you all is, again in bullet points, let's start. Number 1. Autonomic nervous system is the heart and soul. In other terms, you can call it the backbone of the systemic pharmacology. You just cannot study the systemic pharmacology unless and until you have thoroughly been through this autonomic nervous system concepts. Once the concepts they are learnt, they will be repeated infinite times, n number of times in almost all of the chapters coming over. Next point. Once you have understood the concepts of autonomic system well, it will guide and widen the doors of knowledge into the other systems. I hope you're understanding the essence and the importance of this system. Next point. If you cram it nicely and if everything is on your tips, you are the master of a great aspect of the subject. Isn't that wonderful? Next point, pay heed to what I said. Don't miss a single episode. It will be of utter benefit and great information. That were the important points of advice I wanted to give to you all as I start with the autonomic nervous system. So while I hit the ending chords of this talk, cheers to all in the new dawn, in the wintry winds of January. A cup of cappuccino will soothe it all. Let's commit to exchange more pharmacological tea-to-teats, facts, humor, updates, smiles, and sunshines all round 2022. That's what I promise to you all in this numero uno talk. For all the updates and latest episodes of my podcast, please visit www.ispharmacologydifficult.com, where you can also sign up for a free monthly e-newsletter of mine. It actually contains a lot of updates about medical sciences, drug information updates, and my podcast updates also. You can follow me on different social media handles like Twitter, Insta, Facebook, and LinkedIn. They all are with the same name as Pharmacology Difficult. If you are listening for the first time, do subscribe and follow whatever platform you are consuming this episode. Stay tuned. Do rate and review on iTunes, Apple Podcast. Stay safe, stay happy, stay enlightened. Thank you.